So I'm Alan, the Group Consulting Director. As I've said, I'm going to a couple of slides, and then, as I said, I neither the brains nor the beauty in this presentation. That's all Josh, so I'll get out of the way very quickly and once we've talked about that. We're talking about automation, generative AI. You'll have seen our funnel in terms of the way we work and think about business a lot already. This has got the opportunity to basically impact all of that funnel in terms of thinking about your business, how you automate, assist, deflect, and eliminate contact or tasks within your business. You'll have already seen partners around the room, so AI and automation exist in lots and lots of use cases. You'll see in conversational AI, natural language IVRs, agent assists, also summary tools and AI knowledge. Those represented, handsomely in our partners today, and we work with people. We've got NICE, Core AI, Poly AI, Xdroid, and our own CX team are using those tools already today. What we're trying to think about is another level of automation, which is not those core products. It's about how we use generative AI outside of those applications, how we do intelligent process automation. You'll have heard the phrase agentic this morning. Josh is going to explain that because I need to explain it to me. But how we do process automation intelligently rather than robotic process flow. I'm sure lots of you have used the Blue Prisms, the automation anywheres, the UI paths to automate things. They're largely a rekeying exercise or a process-driven element. The ability to use AI in that just changes the game in reality. Also for translation, we've got the ability with these type of tools to create multilingual agents over voice, which is very interesting to people in terms of the way that can work. And also how we really connect front and back office seamlessly and automatically. There's a lot being talked about, but certainly in contact centers, CX practices, they often run as two separate entities. And we think we've got the ability with these tools to, the platform we're launching today, to actually make that seamless and to give tasks and automate tasks in the back office directly from a conversation and an interaction. So that's what we've worked with Josh on creating now a new platform, which is a GUI-driven, no-code platform for automation called FourNet Automate. I've quickly touched on the sort of trends that are going at the moment. These are sort of the top trends. I'll touch on 2 or 3 of them in terms of personalization. Only about 20% of people are using AI to drive personalization. The research suggests that'll be up to 80% within the next 3 years. Conversational AI and bots, many of you maybe use them already, 52% penetration of organizations. Again, that will be up to saturation over the next couple of years. It's happening. I'm really excited about emotional AI, not sentiment. People talk about measuring sentiment. That's pretty basic and linear in terms of the way it works, a bit 1980s. So if anybody talks about sentiment analysis, tell them that. It's always good. Emotion is much more guttural. It's about how we feel in the instance, not a sentiment we formed about how we feel and an action being combined. And it's 10 times more predictive in customer behavior than traditional CSAT or NPS metrics. So emotion is going to grow at a compound, a measurement of emotional AI is going to grow at 35% compound rate. And finally, thinking about how these things can burst your service channels beyond the traditional into physical places with digital humans. In the workplace, in stores, in airports, in train stations, digital humans are now becoming incredibly lifelike and cost-effective to render in the way that the technology is now designed. So I'll pass on to Josh.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Cool, fantastic. So thanks very much, Al. So as Alan mentioned, my name's Josh. I'm the chief architect behind FourNet Automate. And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an overview and very bravely run through a live demo, which has worked once and failed once, so we should be 50-50 chance, but hopefully all should be well. So what is FourNet Automate? So it's a low-code automation platform that empowers organizations to be able to connect together a variety of different services to automate back office processes like you'll already probably be familiar with. The fundamental difference is that we have built it from the ground up to be cognizant of the latest AI services. So we're talking about here large language models. I'm sure you've all played with ChatGPT or you'll be familiar with OpenAI, but we have support for Anthropic, Google, Llama 3.1, Mistral, so every major model out there. And fundamentally, what we're talking about is actually building what we call agentic workflows, which I'll touch on shortly. Now, if we talk about these large language models very quickly for a minute, I like to think of them as essentially intelligent brains in a jar. I would say they're almost at human level capabilities in terms of how they can reason and to interact with information, but they don't have the ability to go out to the outside world and interact with the outside world, to carry out tasks, right? And so fundamentally what FourNet Automate does is it provides a framework and tooling to be able to give these brains in a jar, for lack of a better sort of analogy, arms and legs, to be able to go out and do tasks on behalf of the business. And that really leads us into what we call agentic workflows. So these are workflows whereby you have an AI agent, it uses a large language model of some type, but fundamentally, instead of just acting as a pure information retrieval system, right, where it's answering questions, it can perform and do tasks on behalf of the business. So you can give it sort of like a nebulous request like, hey, and we'll see that shortly as part of the demo, I want you to go and contact this person and don't forget to send them that document and do this and do that. And they'll have access to a series of different tools, and these tools will be workflows and connectivity into different systems to enable them to accomplish that task. So it would be very similar to you, for example, giving a nebulous task to an employee and letting the employee go out and figure out how to do that task and then come back with either a success or a failure in terms of its performance. And this is really sort of a changing the game type of moment, because it's the start of AI employees, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to jump over very quickly and run a live demo. Wish me luck. So bear with me a second. Okie dokie. Right. Okay, can everybody see my screen, hopefully? Fantastic. Cool. So I'm inside the FourNet Automate platform, and as I mentioned, it's about workflows first and foremost. So it's about creating different types of connectivities and AIs that have access to those connectivities into different systems. So I have here an example of an agentic workflow, and this agentic workflow, just to give you some background context, is essentially listening to a live email channel. So whenever an email comes in, it'll do something, it'll interact with that email, and then it has access to a number of different tools, which you can see down here. So for example, it has tools for messaging, it has tools for employee information retrieval, it has tools for getting documents and listing documents and so on. And so it's a little bit like having, a skill set in terms of a person. So now the goal is to ask it a question to do a task, and hopefully it's going to carry out that task. Now I've got WhatsApp here on the side because as one of the tasks I'm going to ask it is to actually send a specific person a message as part of it. Okay, so just so you know, it's not smoke and mirrors. You'll see here I have some dummy data inside HubSpot CRM, which one of the tools is linked to, which is people's job titles and their phone numbers. And I also have a document here as well, which I want it to be able to interact with. So I'm going to go over to my email client here. I'm going to send an email to this particular email, which is being listened to. I'm going to say I need help, and then I'm going to put in a request. So I'm going to say, hey, there's been a system outage today. Can you please notify the relevant people? Make sure they've got the latest procedures document, and that document's called X, right? And so again, this is quite a nebulous task you'd give to a colleague. So I warn you, this can take up to 30 seconds to a minute because the AI is doing things in the background. So let's run it. Let me just make sure everything's on and switched on and running. Yeah, it is. Okay. So we send that email. And so now in the background, what's happening? Well, the email's coming into the inbox. It's being read by the workflow. The data's then being passed to the agent's interpreting the request, and then it's deciding, as you would do as a human being, actually what steps do I need to do in order to accomplish the task at hand, right? And so if we think about that request that I've just given it, well, first of all, I need to figure out who's in charge of this particular department. So I'll go to the CRM and I'll grab the relevant data. Great. Now, once I've got that, I need the document because it's told me to send a specific document. So I'm going to use my tool to retrieve the document to get the document. Fantastic, I've got that. And now that I know who the main person is to contact and and I have the document, you can see that it's just come in here, and I've got a WhatsApp message, and you can see here, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Hi, Jill Harrison, please be informed that today's system outage, and here's the latest troubleshooting documentation. So the agent actually made that decision and went and got all that information and then sent me the actual response. So hopefully we saw that in. And then I think if I refresh my email very quickly, you'll see that I got the response here. I've notified Jill Harrison, head of IT operations, about today's system outage, and I provided her with the latest troubleshooting documentation. So again, very powerful, because I gave her quite a nebulous task, and the AI figured out with the tools it had at hand what to go and do. So I could then ask it a follow-up question, and maybe I want Jill's phone number. I would do that, but I think we're tight on time, so I'll run over to but if you would like to see it in action, please do come talk to me, and happy to do that as well. So running back to the deck very quickly, that's just one example, right? And it's hopefully a wow example, right, which I put together, but there are lots of different types of automations that you can build inside the business that use this type of AI technology and these agentic workflows. And I've got a couple of examples here. So for example, these three workflows, one's focused around payment reminders, there's one focused around general Q&A, and there's another around service desk automation. So really the sky's the limit with what you can build. And we'll see shortly, running through these demos, how they work. So for example, here at a specific point in time, on an interval, we're going to go to the CRM, we're going to find who's in arrears, we're going to ask the AI to determine if the person is in arrears and how long they've been in arrears for. They're going to formulate a message, and then they're going to reach out over different communication channels to chase that customer for payment, right? Then on another example here, you've all heard of chatbots. You might have heard of RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, whereby you can fine-tune models based on your own company information. This is an example of that, where the AI agent's looking at a plethora of documentation, it's looking at your question, and it's determining how to respond, and then going back to the customer. And then also to show that you can also do some more traditional base automation as well. An example here of somebody raising a ticket in Teams, being logged in, say, a service desk like ServiceNow, and then going back to the customer, with that notification, right? So I'm going to hand back to Alan very quickly, just so he can say some final words. Go.
We've got loads of time on this one. We're not getting it right at all. We're getting it right on the last one, weren't we? So that's a whistle-stop tour of a system that we can spend hours showing to you. I think hopefully what you can take out of that, though, is it's the next step in what can we do with AI in a platform with low code or no code. That the idea of being able to give, rather than defining particular processes like with an RPA engine, to give the AI skills and add into those skills, continually adding into those skills to let it determine its own process and output, is an absolute game changer. If you think about what that could be, it's not just emails, it can deal with all the service that Josh talked about, 400 or so agents, already built into it in terms of Amazon, Microsoft, Google services, all the large language models you talked about. So we can deal with images, documents, videos, audio streams, stuff that's triggered by conversations in real time, can all be built as part of this process. We think we're really excited about it. We've started, obviously, FourNet Automate internally. We've got 120 processes in our own business we're putting through it as we speak. And we think for you as clients, we'd like you to challenge us, that we think, what is the really hardest process that you'd love to be able to automate and take away that is hugely complicated and difficult, to challenge us, to scan the code and challenge us how we might do that for you and how the platform can do that incredibly quickly and at incredibly low cost. We're really excited about the technology, I hope you are as well, but we do think it's a game changer, what we can bring to our clients across all spectrums, from security, through to CX, through to just general business processes in the front and back office. So we have finished early, and it's flashing, and I've got first time I can relax. So, is there any questions?
Yeah.
Anybody questions at all? No? Brilliant. Well, that's it. We're done. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, guys.
Last one next. Move to the right. Thank you very much.